As Central Library celebrates its 5th anniversary in December, it's our honor and pleasure to speak with Evans Woolen, who's the architect of the transformed Central Library, which includes the atrium, the 6-story addition, the glass and steel framed addition that is so much a part of the Indianapolis downtown landscape. And Evans, thank you for joining us. When you walk into the doors of Central Library and see your creation, what reaction do you have?
Well, it's a great pleasure to be back, and I haven't been here for almost 3 years, and see some changes and to know how well the library is prospering. Mm-hmm. I think your visitation numbers are incredible, and I don't think that when we were planning the library we were able to dream of such immediate success with the of users. Mm-hmm.
The concept of wrapping the addition around the traditional original Cray building, tell us about that.
From the very beginning, we wanted to do no harm to the Cray building. In fact, we wanted to enhance it if that were at all possible. And we promised the clients at the opening meeting, before any design was done, that would be uppermost in our minds. And because the program of this new library was so much larger than the Cray building, we were not able to conceive of how it could be done in a neoclassical style. It would be ridiculous because it would have to be so big. Neoclassical buildings just weren't that big.
Which involved the limestone structures, like the Cray building primarily.
Like the Cray building. I mean, you need columns, you need a lower proportion, and this was a huge volume that had to be accommodated to make the new library work. Mm-hmm. And so we turned our attention to the concept of an addition that was not imitative of the Cray building, but could enhance the Cray building by its simplicity and perhaps even minimalism, that the Cray would become the jewel and that the new building, the much bigger building, would become the setting for the jewel and would gently wrap towards it, not around it, not strangle it, but would show deference to it, a kind of protective backdrop, if you will, mm-hmm. as in the theater.
Right.
And so the building took on a stainless steel and glass format, very different from the limestone, but in a way complementary, making the limestone better and the shiny steel better because they were contrasted with each other in close context. And then we felt that the two buildings must be very careful in how they, as one critic put it, how they kissed each other, and that the best way was to make an atrium that was as glassy and transparent and revealing as possible, so that you were almost feeling that you were out of doors, walking between the new and the old building, or coming in the old building, and which became a gateway to the new building, and going across an open yard to the steel and glass high-rise, not very high, but high-rise.
But there is a wow factor when one walks from the Cray building into the atrium, and I'm always amazed when I see school children or really any individual when they first step into the atrium from the Cray building, the expression and the comments that they make, a real wow factor.
Well, of course, we hope for that.
Yes.
You never can tell what you're going to get when you're drawing a picture of a building to come, but that was one of our very definite aims, was the surprise of going through the gateway of the old building, especially the very low-ceilinged apertures that have to go under the balcony in the delivery room. They squeeze you for a moment just before they explode, and much better than going through great huge doors and being able to predict what's going to happen when you're in the old building, which you can't do here.
One more question. The role of this building in terms of its place in the Indianapolis landscape, the architecture, how it serves as a bookend to the American Legion Mall. If you could share with us your thoughts on the intent there.
You see, the mall came later than Cray's 1916 building. It came in the 1920s. And Cray was doing a building that was on St. Clair Street, but it had a lot of buildings intervening. And so, and of course he had a certain budget he had to stick to. And so the building is of a size that was perfectly okay for the site that he was commissioned to work on, but not okay after not completely okay after the city movement, City Beautiful movement incited, so to speak, the War Memorial Plaza and the great open spaces and even University Park. By the time those came along, the Cray building was mildly insufficient to hold the position of father at the table being the long mall. And it was, to use a colloquial word, it was dinky. And so we realized that part of our job was to do a backdrop that helped to compensate for that scale differential between the long mall and the smaller library. And I think it, to some extent, does do that. Yeah. It's a better word is it puts an appropriate closure to the length of the mall.
Well, Evans, thank you for your long-lasting, permanent contribution to Indianapolis and the library. It's a pleasure to be able to work in this building.
I'm delighted to be here and to be able to talk about it.
You're living outside of Boulder, Colorado now,
I do.
correct? Okay.
I
well,
do.
Best of luck to you.
I'm a mountain man. Yeah.
That sounds pretty good.
Yes.
Well, thank you again for joining us. And you can learn more about the Central Library architecture by visiting the library's website at ndpl.org.